You know, your opening it's beyond rich. I'm going to read some facts to you about your government, Minister, that I'm sure you're very well aware of. CEBA reported yesterday $3.5 billion in funds that were awarded to those who should not have received them. We've had the Arrive scam scandal, $9 million NYC condo, and this is the most expensive government in the history of Canada. And you're coming here and accusing us of playing political games at a time when your government has been completely irresponsible. And as I've said repeatedly in this committee, you are the one, Minister, who holds the purse strings. I'm actually shocked the Prime Minister gave you another job, considering the responsibility that you hold as president of the Treasury Board. Your effort should be entirely focused here as president of the Treasury Board on reducing the deficit. Because I will also remind you that from April to September of this year, the deficit is already $8.2 billion higher than it was the year before. The PBO that we have coming in the following hour said that you will miss the deficit target by $6.8 billion. So that's my first question to you. Is this number even accurate? $6.8 billion. Tell us today, Minister, how bad is the number? Tell Canadians.
Well, what I will tell Canadians is that unlike the Conservatives who vote against supports for Canadians at every step, whether it is the National School Food Program, whether it is the dental care program, whether it is the Canadian Armed Forces, whether it is affordable housing or Jordan's Principle, the Conservatives vote against Canadians every single time. So I find it strange that you can say you actually do support Canadians and you do care about Canadians when you vote against Canadians at every turn. So the question,
okay, so like
really
the Prime Minister, it's
very
clear
concerning for
you don't
all
know the
members
number.
of the
The
House.
Prime Minister showed Pierre Poilievre he didn't know the number last week, and like the Prime Minister, you don't know the number. Then tell me the number. Tell me the number.
I know the numbers. And
tell me the number. What's the deficit going to be this year? Tell the number to Canadians, please.
We are definitely engaged with all the departments in the government, including the Department of Finance, that holds the purse strings in terms of our budgetary commitments, and we will be ensuring that the public accounts are delivered by the end of the year where all of the numbers will be contained.
Minister, now you come in here and you talk about all of these programs and how you are taking care of Canadians. Yeah, you can't even take care of the public service, and it's evident now. As it was quoted in Options this week, if you lay out the puzzle pieces as we head into the fiscal update, it becomes clear that there is no path forward for this government that doesn't go through the public service. You can even keep your promise to them to take care of them, to hold their jobs. Why should Canadians believe that you can take responsibility for them when you can't even take responsibility for the public service?
Again,
so you have stated now that you are going to look beyond attrition to cuts in the public service. We know from your track record, we know from our work on McKinsey, we know from the Accenture information released yesterday with the Auditor General that you won't do it alone. So can you share with Canadians, please, who have you hired to help you complete the layoffs in the public service?
Again, more inaccurate statements from my honourable colleague. I would first of all like to thank the public servants for their incredibly hard work. I would also like to say that our government will not be adopting DRAP-style measures like previous Conservative governments have done. We are continuing services
So what are you going to do to save the money then, Minister? You have this deficit. You haven't met your deficits in recent years. The PBO says that you are overshooting the number that you gave already. You haven't been able to give a number here today.
We will continue
what are you going to do?
Be here for
when you arrived in this position, not this past summer, but the summer before, you were so enthusiastic, so peachy keen about all the savings that you were going to find, and you haven't found these savings, Minister.
Again,
in fact, you're financial position is worse. So tell Canadians today, what do you plan to do? You've let down the public service.
Mr.
Are you going to
Chair,
let down the Canadians as well?
Those statements are inaccurate. We have actually saved on professional services approximately $800 million, and we have instituted a number of reforms to ensure that there is more discipline in the system relating to contracting with third parties. I announced those last March. They include an updated manager's guide. They include a revised directive on the conflict of interest. They include a horizontal audit, and they include the development of a risk and compliance process. So all of those measures, in addition to reducing the government's reliance on third-party contractors, must be taken into account, and they certainly weren't reflected in the honourable member's questions.
Yeah, but was reflected was the continued debt, the continued deficit, you letting down Canadians, and which increases their taxes. You're talking about all these programs. You don't seem to understand that these programs cost money, that they add, in fact, to the burden of Canadians, because you are not keeping your promise to the public service or to Canadians, as is evidenced by the continued deficits, including the one this year, and you can't even tell me what it is.
Perhaps
Thank you very much,
member
Mr. Chair.
can explain why she's going to vote against 400,000 children and voting against the National School Food
It's not your
Program.
time, Anita.
That's the
I
question.
have the floor here, Minister. We said we'd stick to specific times.